Have you ever felt like your thoughts are spiraling out of control, overwhelmed by stress, negativity, and doubt? It's like your mind is a storm, constantly churning, never at peace. But what if I told you there's a way to reset your mind, clear the chaos, and regain control instantly? Imagine a life where you're no longer ruled by negativity but are in charge of your mental and emotional state. In this video, I'll share with you 7 transformative Buddhist lessons that can help you do just that. These principles, practiced for centuries, offer a path to clarity, peace, and mental freedom, no matter what life throws at you. Stick around, because these lessons could completely change the way you approach life and guide you toward a life filled with positivity, resilience, and self-mastery. Lesson 1. Command your thoughts with precision. The first step in mastering your mind is to understand that your thoughts are incredibly powerful. They are not just fleeting moments in your head, they shape your reality, influence your emotions, and ultimately, govern your actions. In Buddhism, it's taught that all suffering begins with the mind. The Buddha once said, "We are what we think. All that we are arises with our thoughts. With our thoughts, we make the world." What does this mean for you? It means that if you can control your thoughts, you can take control of your life. Your mind is not something that should rule over you, it's an instrument you can train, shape, and refine to work in your favor. In the practice of Buddhism, the first step is always awareness. To command your thoughts with precision, you first need to be aware of what is happening in your mind. Most people go through life without ever truly examining their thoughts. You wake up, go through your routine, and let your mind wander wherever it pleases. But if you allow your mind to drift aimlessly, it will often lead you to negative, destructive thinking patterns. Here's where mindfulness comes in. Mindfulness, a key practice in Buddhism, involves observing your thoughts without attachment or judgment. It's like watching clouds pass by in the sky, recognizing them, but not letting them define your mood or your actions. Start by dedicating a few minutes each day to observing your thoughts. Sit in silence, close your eyes, and simply notice what comes up. Do you find yourself thinking about problems, fears, or regrets? Are there recurring negative patterns? Once you bring awareness to your thoughts, you can begin to redirect them. It's like having a map and realizing you've been driving down the wrong road. Now, you can choose a new direction. Now that you're aware of your thoughts, the next step is to actively choose them. This is where Buddhism offers a unique perspective, the idea that you can control your mental habits. The Buddha taught that our minds are like gardens. If we don't tend to them, weeds, negative thoughts, will naturally grow. But if we plant seeds of positivity, compassion, and wisdom, we can cultivate a beautiful garden of peace and clarity. Imagine each thought as a seed you're planting. Every time you choose a positive thought over a negative one, you're making an investment in your mental health. For example, instead of thinking, "I'll never be good enough," try, "I am doing my best, and that is enough." This subtle shift in mindset, when practiced consistently, can gradually transform your perspective on life. This practice isn't just theoretical, science backs it up. Studies in neuroscience show that regularly practicing positive thinking and mindfulness can physically change the structure of your brain. The brain forms neural pathways based on the thoughts you most often repeat. Positive thinking strengthens the neural pathways associated with happiness and resilience, while negative thinking weakens them. In short, you can literally rewire your brain by consciously choosing positive thoughts. Meditation plays a crucial role in mastering your thoughts. The Buddha often spoke about meditation as a means to calm the mind, gain clarity, and develop wisdom. Meditation is the practice of focusing your attention and cultivating a deep sense of awareness. For those new to meditation, start simple. Find a quiet place, sit comfortably, and focus on your breath. When your mind begins to wander, as it inevitably will, gently bring it back to your breath. Over time, you'll notice that you can maintain focus for longer periods, and your thoughts become clearer. This kind of practice builds your ability to direct your mind with precision. You might wonder, how does this relate to real-life challenges? When faced with stress, anxiety, or uncertainty, meditation can act as a reset button. It allows you to detach from the flood of overwhelming thoughts and create a space for clarity and decision-making. One of the most powerful aspects of controlling your thoughts is learning how to redirect negativity. Negative thoughts are inevitable, but that doesn't mean you have to hold on to them. Buddhism teaches us to practice right effort, the conscious effort to overcome mental obstacles, including negative thinking. Let's say you're stuck in a cycle of self-doubt. You think, "I'm not good enough," and that thought spirals into feelings of inadequacy. Instead of letting that thought take over, stop and ask yourself, is this thought true? Is it helping me move forward? When you challenge negative thoughts, they lose their power over you. You can then replace them with thoughts that better serve your goals, such as, "I am capable, and I can grow through challenges." This approach not only empowers you, but it also reflects a key principle in Buddhism, that suffering is a result of attachment to our thoughts and feelings. When we cling to negative thoughts, we allow them to control us. But when we practice detachment, we can let go of the thoughts that cause us suffering and embrace those that lead us toward growth and peace. In Buddhism, there is a practice known as vipassana, or insight meditation, which involves deeply observing the nature of our thoughts. This practice encourages us to recognize that thoughts, like everything else in life, are impermanent. They come and go, rise and fall, but they don't define who we are. By recognizing the impermanence of our thoughts, we can begin to detach from them. When you experience a negative thought, instead of identifying with it, you can simply observe it as it arises and fades. This practice allows you to maintain mental clarity and avoid getting swept away by emotional turbulence. The Buddha also taught about the concept of right mindfulness, which involves being present in each moment and aware of your thoughts, feelings, and actions. This kind of awareness doesn't just help in meditation but extends to every aspect of life. When you practice mindfulness, you begin to notice your thoughts in real time and can make conscious choices about which ones to cultivate and which to discard. Mastering your thoughts is not an overnight achievement. It's a lifelong practice, but the rewards are profound. When you command your thoughts with precision, you gain control over your emotional landscape, your decisions, and ultimately, your life. Consider this: how much of your day is spent thinking thoughts that don't serve you? How often do you find yourself lost in worry, fear, or doubt? Now, imagine if you could replace those thoughts with positive, empowering ones that propel you forward. By training your mind in this way, you create a life filled with peace, clarity, and resilience. Remember, as the Buddha taught, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. By mastering your thoughts, you are removing those barriers, be it fear, negativity, or doubt, and opening yourself to a life of limitless potential. As you embark on this journey of mental mastery, take each step with patience, understanding, and compassion for yourself. Through mindfulness, meditation, and conscious thought, you have the power to command your thoughts, clear away the chaos, and create a. Lesson 2: Harness the power of visualization. Visualization is a powerful tool used by successful individuals, athletes, and leaders across the globe. In Buddhism, there's a deep understanding of the mind's ability to shape reality, and visualization is one of the most effective practices to direct the mind's energy towards a desired outcome. This technique is not just wishful thinking, but a concrete practice grounded in both spiritual tradition and scientific principle. Buddhism teaches us that the mind is the source of both our suffering and our liberation. It's said that, what the mind thinks, it creates. In other words, our thoughts are not just abstract concepts, they have the power to manifest in the real world. The Buddha often spoke about the power of intention and the significance of right thought. Our thoughts shape our perceptions, our actions, and even our circumstances. Therefore, by focusing the mind on a positive vision, we can begin to create the life we want. Visualization is one of the most effective ways to focus the mind. The Buddha often spoke of meditation as a tool for clarity, but it's not only the act of sitting quietly that's important, it's also the ability to direct the mind's attention toward specific intentions and goals. When we visualize, we are actively training the mind to focus, creating mental pathways that guide us toward the results we want. Visualization isn't just a mystical concept found in Buddhist teachings, it's also a practice supported by modern neuroscience. Studies have shown that when you vividly imagine a certain action, your brain often reacts as if you've already performed it. This phenomenon is known as mental rehearsal. Athletes, for instance, use this technique to practice a skill or strategy in their minds before physically performing it. The brain forms the same neural pathways during visualization as it does during actual physical execution, which helps enhance performance. This connection between the mind and body is where science and Buddhism align. In Buddhism, the mind and body are seen as interconnected, with mental clarity leading to physical well-being. When you visualize success or achievement, you're not just daydreaming, you're training your brain to align with that success. Your mental focus builds the foundation for your actions in the physical world. Visualization works best when it's practiced regularly and with intention. It's not enough to visualize something once and hope for the best. As with meditation or any other practice, consistency is key. By dedicating time each day to vivid, detailed visualization, you begin to reprogram your mind to attract the situations, people, and opportunities that align with your goals. Start by setting aside a few minutes each day, preferably in the morning or just before bedtime, where you can visualize without distraction. Close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, and begin to create a mental image of your desired outcome. Imagine every detail, the sights, the sounds, the emotions. If your goal is to give a successful presentation, visualize yourself confidently speaking, engaging with your audience, and feeling proud of your performance. The more specific and sensory-rich your visualization, the more powerful it becomes. Over time, your mind becomes conditioned to focus on these positive outcomes, and your actions will begin to align with this vision. It's like planting seeds in a garden. At first, you may not see immediate results, but with time, your consistent efforts will begin to grow into something real. One of the most powerful aspects of visualization is its ability to help you overcome obstacles. When facing challenges, it's easy to become discouraged and fixated on problems. But visualization allows you to reframe these challenges as opportunities for growth. Instead of imagining failure or defeat, you can visualize yourself overcoming difficulties with strength and resilience. Take, for example, a Buddhist story about a monk named Bhikkhu Nanda. Nanda was a young monk who struggled with desire and attachment, especially to his former life as a prince. Despite his deep meditation practice, he couldn't shake his longing for the material comforts and pleasures he had once known. Buddha, seeing Nanda's struggle, asked him to visualize his former life and compare it with the peace he had found in monastic life. Through this visualization, Nanda began to realize that the things he once craved were fleeting and unsatisfying, while the peace he had found in his spiritual practice was lasting and fulfilling. This shift in perception, sparked by visualization, helped Nanda overcome his attachment and find true peace. Just like Nanda, when we visualize ourselves overcoming obstacles, be it in our career, relationships, or personal growth, we start to rewire our brain to expect success, not failure. This shift in mindset makes it easier to take proactive steps towards solving problems, instead of getting stuck in negative thought loops. Visualization isn't just about imagining the end result, it's about connecting with the emotions that accompany that success. Emotions play a critical role in making your visualization powerful and effective. When you visualize achieving your goals, try to connect with the feelings of joy, excitement, pride, or peace that would come with your success. This is where Buddhism's teaching of right intention comes into play. The Buddha emphasized that intention is at the root of all actions. If your intention behind your visualization is pure and rooted in compassion, peace, or personal growth, the power of that visualization is exponentially greater. It's not just about material success, it's about aligning your inner emotions with the outer world you wish to create. By grounding your visualizations in positive emotions, you increase the likelihood of manifesting those outcomes in reality. While visualization is often used to achieve personal goals, it can also be a tool for cultivating compassion and improving relationships. In Buddhist meditation, metta, or loving-kindness meditation, is a practice of sending good wishes and love to oneself and others. Visualization can be used in a similar way. Imagine yourself surrounded by love, peace, and understanding, and extend that feeling to others, family, friends, strangers, even those with whom you have conflicts. This not only strengthens your relationships but also fosters a greater sense of empathy and connection to others. You can visualize sending positive energy to those in need or visualize healing for someone suffering. By cultivating compassion through visualization, you not only improve the well-being of others but also cultivate peace and joy within yourself. It's a beautiful reminder of how interconnected our thoughts, emotions, and actions are. Many are familiar with the concept of the law of attraction, which suggests that by focusing on positive thoughts and intentions, you can attract positive outcomes. While this idea has become widely popular in mainstream culture, it has roots in ancient Buddhist thought. The Buddha taught that when our mind is aligned with positive intentions, we naturally attract favorable circumstances. However, it's important to note that the law of attraction is not about merely wishing for things to happen. It's about actively working towards your goals, while also cultivating a mindset of positivity and openness. In this sense, visualization is both an internal and external practice. It involves aligning your thoughts, emotions, and actions to move toward your desired outcome. The Buddha's teachings encourage us to take responsibility for our mental state and to actively engage in the process of transformation. Harnessing the power of visualization is not about escaping reality or creating fantasy worlds, it's about consciously directing the mind towards positive, transformative outcomes. By visualizing success, overcoming obstacles, and cultivating compassion, you can begin to reshape your reality. This practice aligns perfectly with Buddhist teachings on intention, mindfulness, and the power of the mind. As you begin to implement visualization into your life, remember to be patient and persistent. Just as a seed needs time to grow into a tree, your visualizations need time to manifest. But with regular practice, you will find yourself naturally aligning with your vision, and the life you desire will slowly begin to unfold before you. So, take a moment each day to close your eyes and envision the life you want. See it, feel it, and believe it. Your mind is powerful enough to make it real. Just as the Buddha showed us, our thoughts can shape the world. Let's make sure we're shaping it in the most beautiful way possible. Lesson 3: Radical Mind Diet. In the same way that our bodies need healthy food to function optimally, our minds also require nourishment. Just as we are careful about what we eat, we must also be mindful of what we feed our minds. The mind, like a garden, thrives when it is nurtured with positivity, wisdom, and inspiration. In Buddhism, there is a deep understanding that what we consume, whether it be food, information, or the people around us, directly impacts our mental and emotional well-being. This is what we refer to as the radical mind diet. The Buddha frequently spoke of the mind as a fertile ground for seeds of thought. If we nourish our mind with positive seeds, kindness, compassion, and wisdom, we are cultivating a peaceful and enlightened state. On the other hand, if we allow negative thoughts, harmful media, and toxic influences to dominate our minds, we're planting seeds of suffering, confusion, and fear. One of the most powerful teachings of Buddhism is the understanding that suffering is rooted in attachment. We often cling to negative thoughts, emotions, and even external situations that bring us distress. However, by practicing awareness and mindfulness, we can begin to identify harmful mental patterns and consciously choose to replace them with thoughts that promote peace and clarity. The concept of right effort, a key part of the Noble Eightfold Path, teaches us to strive for mental purity. This means not only eliminating negative thoughts but also actively seeking out and cultivating positive ones. The Radical Mind Diet is a way to apply this principle, by curating what we allow into our mental space, just as we would curate the food we put into our bodies. Just as unhealthy foods like processed sugars or fast food can impair our physical health, unhealthy mental foods can damage our emotional well-being. Research in neuroscience supports this idea. Studies show that the content we consume, whether through social media, news, or even casual conversations, has a direct impact on our brain's functioning. Negative news stories, fear-driven media, and toxic social environments can trigger stress responses and cause an overload of cortisol, the body's stress hormone. In contrast, engaging with uplifting, educational, and positive content can help lower stress, improve mood, and foster resilience. The brain is plastic, meaning it can change and rewire based on the stimuli it receives. Just as a healthy diet supports the growth and repair of the body, a healthy mental diet supports the growth and repair of the mind. The Buddha recognized the power of the mind to shape our experiences, and he taught that by cultivating wisdom and virtue, we could protect ourselves from the harmful effects of negative thinking. This isn't just spiritual advice, it's a scientific principle. The way we shape our thoughts and minds directly influences how we interact with the world. How to practice the Radical Mind Diet. To begin your Radical Mind Diet, take stock of what you're feeding your mind each day. What kind of information are you consuming? What kind of conversations are you having? Are they uplifting, inspiring, and growth-oriented? Or are they filled with negativity, gossip, and drama? Here are some practical steps to help you develop a healthier mental diet. 1. Be mindful of media consumption. Just as you would avoid junk food for your body, it's important to avoid mental junk food. Stop consuming news that serves only to fill your mind with fear and anxiety. Limit your exposure to social media accounts or content that drain your energy or promote negativity. Instead, choose content that nourishes your mind, such as books, podcasts, or videos that promote personal growth, spirituality, and positive thinking. In Buddhism, mindfulness teaches us to be aware of the present moment and the things we consume. By practicing mindfulness in your media choices, you can protect your mental health and foster a more positive mindset. For example, try replacing your usual evening news routine with a meditation app or a podcast that brings you peace and clarity. 2. Surround yourself with uplifting people. In addition to the media you consume, consider the people you interact with. Are the people around you supportive and encouraging? Or do they constantly bring negativity into your life? In Buddhism, the concept of kalyanamitta, or wise friends, emphasizes the importance of surrounding yourself with individuals who help cultivate a positive and enlightened state of mind. Choose to spend time with people who inspire you, challenge you to grow, and encourage you to be your best self. Avoid those who are constantly negative or who bring out the worst in you. Your relationships play a significant role in shaping your thoughts and emotions, so choose wisely. 3. Feed your mind with wisdom and compassion. One of the best ways to nourish your mind is by consuming content that promotes wisdom and compassion. Buddhism teaches that true happiness comes from understanding the nature of life and cultivating a compassionate heart. By reading books, attending talks, or engaging in discussions that explore these topics, you are nourishing your mind with valuable insights that foster peace, patience, and understanding. Make it a habit to read books that expand your understanding of the world, not just those that entertain you. Choose literature that challenges your perspective and helps you grow. For example, you might explore texts on mindfulness, compassion, or emotional intelligence, subjects that build resilience and foster a calm and peaceful mind. 4. Engage in creative and mindful activities. Creativity is a powerful tool for cultivating mental well-being. Whether it's painting, writing, playing music, or simply taking a walk in nature, creative activities allow your mind to focus on something positive and constructive. In Buddhism, activities like art and nature walks are often used as forms of meditation, where the focus is on being present in the moment. Engage in activities that allow your mind to relax and focus. This could include journaling, painting, gardening, or any hobby that brings you joy and fulfillment. These activities don't just serve as a break from stress, they help to cleanse your mind and give it the space it needs to be creative, productive, and peaceful. 5. Practice gratitude and reflection. As you begin to transform your mind through the Radical Mind Diet, it's essential to also practice gratitude. The Buddha taught that gratitude is a key to overcoming suffering, as it helps us focus on the positive aspects of life, no matter the challenges we face. By regularly reflecting on what you're grateful for, you shift your mental focus from lack and negativity to abundance and positivity. Take time each day to write down 3 things you're grateful for. These don't have to be monumental, even the simplest moments, a warm cup of tea, a smile from a stranger, or a peaceful moment alone, can be sources of gratitude. This practice not only shifts your mindset but also strengthens the neural pathways associated with positivity and well-being. By committing to the Radical Mind Diet, you begin to experience a profound shift in how you see the world. As you eliminate negativity and replace it with positivity, your outlook on life changes. You become more resilient, more peaceful, and more centered. You are able to manage stress more effectively and approach challenges with a calm, clear mind. The Buddha's teachings on mindfulness, right effort, and wise consumption encourage us to protect our minds from the negative influences of the world and focus on cultivating qualities that lead to true happiness and liberation. By following the Radical Mind Diet, you are aligning your mind with these teachings, creating a foundation for lasting peace and happiness. Imagine your mind as a garden. What kind of plants are growing there? Are they beautiful, flourishing flowers, or are they invasive weeds? By practicing the Radical Mind Diet, you are tending to your mental garden, ensuring that only positive, life-giving thoughts and emotions take root. Through mindfulness, intention, and discipline, you can transform your mind and, by extension, your life. The process of nourishing the mind is ongoing. Just as we don't expect to eat one healthy meal and be forever fit, we cannot expect our minds to stay healthy without continual nourishment. Commit to the Radical Mind Diet every day. Choose what you consume carefully, and over time, watch how it transforms your mental landscape. Lesson 4. Emotional Alchemy. Emotions are powerful forces that can either propel us forward or weigh us down. At their best, they are our inner compass, guiding us toward what we value most. At their worst, they can be the chains that bind us, creating obstacles that prevent us from realizing our true potential. In Buddhism, emotions are seen neither as good nor bad but as natural occurrences that can either fuel wisdom or create suffering. Emotional alchemy, therefore, is the practice of transforming negative emotions into tools for personal growth and self-mastery. In Buddhist philosophy, everything in life is impermanent, including our emotions. The Buddha often reminded his followers that our emotional states, like all things, are transient. They arise, they fade, and they are not the essence of who we are. This recognition allows us to detach from the emotional storms that occasionally rage within us. Instead of becoming attached to anger, sadness, or frustration, we can view them as temporary states that we have the power to transform. Buddhism teaches that the mind's habitual tendencies, such as clinging to or resisting emotions, are what create suffering. When we cling to our emotions, believing them to be our permanent state, we suffer. But when we acknowledge emotions without judgment and work to transform them, we free ourselves from the cycle of suffering. This is the essence of emotional alchemy, the practice of transmuting raw, sometimes painful emotions into opportunities for wisdom, peace, and growth. The first step in emotional alchemy is awareness. In the Buddhist tradition, mindfulness is a foundational practice, and it's through mindfulness that we learn to observe our emotions as they arise. Rather than identifying with the emotion, "I am angry," mindfulness allows us to say, "I am experiencing anger." This subtle shift in perspective allows us to distance ourselves from the emotion, making it easier to transform it. We are not our emotions, we are the awareness that observes them. By cultivating emotional awareness, we begin to notice patterns in our emotional responses. Do certain situations, people, or environments trigger intense feelings? Are we quick to react out of habit, or can we pause and choose how we want to respond? The Buddha taught that right action begins with right understanding. When we understand the nature of our emotions, we can begin to take mindful actions that align with our highest intentions. The alchemy of emotions is not about suppressing or ignoring them. On the contrary, it is about feeling the emotion fully, understanding its root cause, and then consciously redirecting its energy. Let's take anger as an example. Anger, when transformed, can become a source of strength, clarity, and even compassion. In Buddhism, the practice of metta, loving kindness, is often used to counteract negative emotions like anger. The Buddha taught that when we feel angry, we should take a moment to reflect on the cause of that anger, and then shift our focus toward compassion. Ask yourself, why am I angry? What is the underlying cause? Is it something within my control or beyond my control? By understanding the root of the emotion, we can reframe it. Instead of allowing anger to control us, we can use it as fuel to make positive changes, whether it's setting a healthy boundary, expressing our needs, or practicing forgiveness. There is a beautiful Buddhist story about a monk named Angulimala. Angulimala was once a feared bandit who had killed many people. However, after encountering the Buddha, he had a profound transformation. Instead of using his anger and violence to harm others, he redirected his intense emotions toward a path of compassion and mindfulness. The Buddha taught him that anger could be transformed into wisdom, and by doing so, Angulimala became a monk who helped others rather than harming them. This story demonstrates that emotional energy, no matter how destructive it may seem, can be redirected into something life-affirming and peaceful. Emotional alchemy isn't limited to anger. Every emotion, even sadness or fear, holds the potential for transformation. Sadness. When we experience sadness, we may feel like we've lost something or someone important. In Buddhism, the understanding of impermanence, the idea that everything changes, helps us see that sadness, like all emotions, is temporary. By sitting with our sadness and fully experiencing it, we can learn to accept the loss and find peace in the midst of grief. Through this acceptance, we are able to transform sadness into a deeper appreciation for life and a stronger sense of compassion for others who are experiencing similar pain. Fear can be paralyzing, but in Buddhism, fear is seen as a natural part of the human experience. The Buddha taught that fear arises from attachment and desire. We fear losing what we love or failing to achieve what we desire. But when we practice non-attachment, we can free ourselves from the grip of fear. Fear is an emotion that, when transformed, can lead to courage and clarity. Instead of allowing fear to stop us from acting, we can use it as a signal that we are on the edge of growth. Ask yourself, what is this fear teaching me? What is the worst that could happen? What action can I take to move beyond this fear? By reframing fear as an opportunity for growth, we can summon the courage to take the next step. Techniques for emotional alchemy. There are practical techniques we can use to transform our emotions. These techniques help us not only to process our feelings but also to redirect their energy toward positive action. 1. Mindful breathing. When strong emotions arise, take a moment to pause and focus on your breath. Breathe deeply, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. This simple act of mindful breathing helps to calm the nervous system, allowing you to step back and gain clarity before reacting. In Buddhism, breathing is used as an anchor to the present moment, helping you remain grounded amidst emotional turbulence. 2. Journaling. Writing down your emotions is a powerful way to process and understand them. When you're feeling overwhelmed by anger, sadness, or fear, try journaling about what you're experiencing. Ask yourself questions like, what triggered this emotion? What beliefs or fears are underlying it? How can I transform this emotion into a positive force? Writing allows you to externalize your emotions, gaining perspective on them and empowering you to take conscious action. 3. Loving-kindness meditation. This is a Buddhist practice designed to cultivate compassion and goodwill, especially when we're dealing with difficult emotions. In this practice, you repeat phrases such as, "May I be happy. May I be peaceful. May I be free from suffering." After focusing on yourself, you extend these wishes to others, including those with whom you may have conflicts. This practice helps to soften the heart and transform negative emotions into feelings of love and compassion. 4. Reframing. When an intense emotion arises, practice reframing it. This involves changing your perspective on the situation and finding a new interpretation. For example, instead of seeing a challenge at work as a source of frustration, reframe it as an opportunity to learn, grow, and improve your skills. Reframing helps to transform negative emotions into a source of empowerment. At the heart of emotional alchemy is the practice of compassion, both for ourselves and others. Buddhism teaches that compassion is the antidote to suffering. By embracing our own emotional experiences with kindness and understanding, we can transform even the most difficult emotions into opportunities for personal growth and healing. When we learn to view our emotions as natural, impermanent, and transformable, we open ourselves to the possibility of liberation from emotional suffering. Emotional alchemy is about recognizing the inherent potential in every emotion. It's about taking the raw material of your feelings and turning them into something beautiful and valuable. Just as a skilled alchemist can transform lead into gold, you too can transform emotional suffering into wisdom, strength, and peace. With practice, emotional alchemy becomes not just a tool for personal growth, but a way of life, one that allows you to navigate the ups and downs of life with grace, resilience, and an open heart. Lesson 5. Rewire your brain with gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most transformative practices you can adopt in your life. It's not just about feeling thankful for the good things that happen, it's about rewiring your brain to focus on what's right, rather than what's wrong. In Buddhism, gratitude is seen as a powerful antidote to suffering, as it helps us recognize the abundance in our lives and move away from feelings of lack or dissatisfaction. This lesson will explore how the practice of gratitude can reshape your mind, improve your emotional well-being, and create a foundation for lasting happiness. In Buddhism, the concept of appreciation is closely tied to the teachings on impermanence and mindfulness. The Buddha often spoke about the importance of recognizing the transient nature of life. Our possessions, our relationships, and even our emotions come and go. By cultivating a deep sense of gratitude for the present moment and everything it contains, we are able to break free from the constant craving for more success, more possessions, more validation, and find peace in what we already have. Gratitude, in this sense, is not just a fleeting emotion but a powerful practice that leads to liberation. The Buddha taught that the mind, when focused on appreciation and contentment, is free from the suffering that arises from attachment and desire. By practicing gratitude, we shift our mental state from one of yearning and dissatisfaction to one of abundance and joy. While gratitude has long been a central practice in spiritual traditions, recent scientific research has confirmed its profound impact on the brain. Studies in neuroscience show that gratitude has the ability to rewire our brain by strengthening neural pathways that focus on positivity, while weakening those associated with negative thinking. When we express gratitude, our brains release dopamine and serotonin, two neurotransmitters associated with feelings of happiness and well-being. This neurological shift is what makes gratitude such a powerful tool for transforming our mental and emotional states. When we make a conscious effort to focus on the good things in our lives, our brains begin to develop a natural tendency to seek out positive experiences. The more we practice gratitude, the more easily our brains will automatically recognize and appreciate the positive aspects of life. This scientific understanding mirrors what the Buddha taught over 2,000 years ago, that our mental habits shape our reality. By training the mind to focus on gratitude, we create a mental environment where happiness and contentment can flourish. How to practice gratitude: steps for transforming your mindset. Practicing gratitude is simple, but it requires consistency. It's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of daily life, focusing on what we don't have or what's going wrong. Gratitude is the antidote to this. It's a way of training the mind to slow down and notice the goodness that already exists in our lives. Here are a few powerful steps to help you develop a gratitude practice that will rewire your brain. 1. Keep a gratitude journal. One of the most effective ways to cultivate gratitude is through journaling. Each day, take a few moments to write down 3 things you are grateful for. These can be big or small, anything from the warmth of the sun on your skin to the kindness of a stranger. The key is to focus on the specific things that bring you joy and appreciation. When I first began this practice, I noticed a shift in how I viewed the world. At first, I struggled to find things to be grateful for, but as I made it a habit, I found myself appreciating even the smallest moments, like a good cup of coffee or a peaceful walk. Over time, this practice rewired my brain to focus on what was going well, rather than what was lacking. 2. Focus on the present moment. Buddhism teaches us that true peace can only be found in the present moment. Gratitude, when practiced in the present, allows us to fully experience life as it is. Instead of waiting for the future to bring happiness or looking back at the past with regret, we can train our minds to appreciate the here and now. Take a moment throughout your day to pause and take in your surroundings. Whether you're walking outside, enjoying a meal, or having a conversation, stop for a moment and acknowledge the beauty of the present. Focus on the sensations, the feelings, and the people around you. This practice of mindful gratitude can ground you in the present and help you appreciate the simplicity and richness of everyday life. 3. Gratitude for challenges. This may seem counterintuitive, but in Buddhism, we are taught to appreciate even the challenges in our lives. The Buddha spoke often about dukkha, or suffering, and the role it plays in our spiritual growth. Challenges, difficulties, and pain are part of the human experience, but they also offer opportunities for growth and wisdom. When facing a difficult situation, try to shift your perspective. Instead of focusing solely on the pain or frustration, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How is this experience helping me grow? Practicing gratitude for challenges helps you see obstacles not as setbacks, but as stepping stones on your path to enlightenment. This shift in perspective opens the door to deeper resilience and acceptance. 4. Express gratitude to others. Gratitude is not just an internal practice, it's also a way to build stronger connections with others. In Buddhism, the practice of metta, loving-kindness meditation, encourages us to extend goodwill toward ourselves and others. By expressing gratitude to those around us, we not only make them feel appreciated but also strengthen our own sense of connection and compassion. Take time each day to thank someone for their kindness, whether it's a friend, a colleague, or a family member. Express your appreciation for their actions, their support, or simply their presence in your life. Gratitude, when shared, has the power to build deeper, more meaningful relationships and create a ripple effect of positivity. 5. Shift your focus from lack to abundance. One of the core teachings in Buddhism is the concept of non-attachment, the idea that our desires and cravings are the root cause of suffering. When we focus on what we don't have, we feed our sense of lack. However, when we focus on what we already possess, we begin to experience the richness and abundance that is already available to us. Try to consciously shift your focus from what is missing in your life to what is present. It could be the love of family, a roof over your head, the ability to walk, or simply the opportunity to breathe. These simple acts of mindfulness and gratitude can help break the cycle of longing and bring us into the present moment, where we can experience true contentment. When practiced consistently, gratitude has a profound effect on every aspect of your life. It enhances emotional resilience, reduces stress, and improves overall well-being. It can strengthen relationships, boost self-esteem, and create a more positive outlook on life. Gratitude doesn't just benefit you, it has a ripple effect on everyone you interact with. The more you practice gratitude, the more you'll notice your brain shifting towards positivity. This shift isn't just mental, it's physical. By reprogramming your brain to focus on gratitude, you create a neural environment where joy and happiness can thrive. This process, in turn, helps to cultivate a deeper sense of peace and fulfillment in all areas of life. Gratitude is not just something you feel, it's something you practice. It's a choice you make every day to focus on the good, to acknowledge the blessings in your life, and to shift your focus from what's lacking to what's abundant. As you begin to integrate gratitude into your daily routine, you'll start to see how it transforms your mind, your relationships, and your overall experience of life. Remember, the Buddha taught that true happiness comes from within, not from external circumstances or material possessions. By practicing gratitude, you are aligning your mind with the natural state of joy and peace that lies within all of us. The more you express gratitude, the more you will cultivate a life filled with love, appreciation, and abundance. So, take a moment right now to reflect on what you're grateful for. Whether big or small, these moments of gratitude will not only change your outlook on life but will help you cultivate a deeper sense of peace, happiness, and fulfillment. Lesson 6. Cultivate your energy ecosystem. In our modern world, we often focus on managing our time, productivity, and physical health, but one element that frequently gets overlooked is our energy. Energy isn't just about physical stamina, it encompasses our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. In Buddhism, everything is connected, and the energy we cultivate in our lives, through the people we interact with, the environments we inhabit, and the practices we engage in, shapes who we are and how we experience the world. The concept of an energy ecosystem is about consciously creating a balanced environment that nurtures your mind, body, and spirit. Just as we carefully curate our physical surroundings, we must also be intentional about the energy we allow to influence us. Buddhism teaches us that all things are interconnected. Our actions, thoughts, and the environments we create influence not only our own lives but the lives of those around us. This interconnectedness is reflected in the concept of prana, life force, or chi, energy, in many Eastern philosophies, which describes the invisible force that flows through every living being and sustains life. In Buddhism, it's understood that our mental and emotional energy affects the world around us, and the energy we receive from others impacts our inner state. The Buddha taught that our well-being is influenced by what we put into our minds and bodies, whether it's the food we eat, the media we consume, or the people we interact with. When we cultivate a positive energy ecosystem, we create a space that allows our mental, emotional, and physical health to thrive. Conversely, if we allow toxic influences to permeate our environment, we disrupt this balance, leading to stress, anxiety, and emotional depletion. Imagine your energy as a garden. If you allow negative or harmful influences, be it negative people, stressful environments, or toxic media, into this garden, it's like letting weeds take over. These weeds drain your energy, leaving little room for the flowers of peace, joy, and vitality to grow. On the other hand, if you nourish your mind with positive influences, cultivate healthy relationships, and create a peaceful environment, you are essentially planting seeds that will flourish into a vibrant, balanced ecosystem. The practice of cultivating your energy ecosystem involves being mindful of what you expose yourself to and making intentional choices that support your overall well-being. This is not just about removing negative influences but also about actively nurturing positive ones that promote growth, clarity, and peace. Cultivating your energy ecosystem. Practical steps. 1. Assess your physical environment. Your surroundings have a profound impact on your energy. In Buddhism, the idea of space clearing is vital for creating a balanced environment. A cluttered, chaotic space can contribute to mental clutter and stress, whereas a clean, serene environment can help foster peace and clarity. Take a moment to assess the spaces where you spend the most time, your home, your office, or even your car. Is your space organized, calming, and free of distractions? Or is it cluttered, noisy, and filled with distractions? Small changes like clearing out unnecessary items, adding plants, or introducing calming colors can significantly shift the energy in your space. Consider incorporating elements of nature into your surroundings. Buddhism teaches us to connect with nature to restore balance and harmony in our lives. Whether it's a small potted plant, a vase of fresh flowers, or simply spending time outdoors, connecting with nature helps cleanse our mental and emotional energy and grounds us in the present moment. 2. Surround yourself with uplifting people. The people you spend time with have a direct impact on your energy. In Buddhist teachings, Kalyanamitta, or wise friends, are seen as essential to spiritual growth. Just as a garden needs healthy soil to thrive, we too need relationships that nurture and inspire us to grow. Relationships that are filled with negativity, criticism, or drama can drain our energy, leaving us feeling exhausted and uninspired. Take a moment to evaluate your relationships. Are the people you interact with supportive, compassionate, and uplifting? Do they encourage your personal growth and well-being? It's important to cultivate relationships with those who inspire you, challenge you to be better, and support your aspirations. These are the people who will contribute positively to your energy ecosystem. On the other hand, it's also essential to set boundaries with individuals who drain your energy. Protecting your energy isn't about rejecting people, it's about protecting your peace and well-being. Establish clear boundaries to limit the time and energy you spend with those who consistently bring negativity or stress into your life. 3. Nourish your mind with positive influences. Just as the food we eat fuels our bodies, the content we consume fuels our minds. In Buddhism, there's an understanding that what we expose ourselves to influences our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Watching the news, reading social media, or engaging in conversations that promote fear, negativity, or drama can have a significant impact on our mental and emotional health. Be mindful of the media you consume. Choose content that uplifts, educates, and inspires you. Read books that expand your mind and challenge your perspectives. Listen to podcasts or watch videos that encourage personal growth, spirituality, and emotional well-being. Just as we would avoid junk food for our bodies, we must avoid junk content for our minds. The more you engage with positive, enriching content, the more you reinforce mental and emotional patterns that foster peace, clarity, and resilience. Consider incorporating daily practices like meditation, mindfulness, or affirmations to help nourish your mind and create a positive mental ecosystem. 4. Engage in practices that cultivate positive energy. Buddhism offers many practices to help cultivate a positive energy ecosystem. Meditation, mindfulness, yoga, and Tai Chi are all powerful ways to balance your energy and restore mental clarity. These practices allow you to connect with your body, calm your mind, and center your emotions. Make time each day for practices that help you cultivate peace and balance. Even 5 minutes of mindful breathing or a short meditation session can significantly shift your energy. The key is consistency. Over time, these practices will help you build resilience, emotional stability, and a deeper connection to your inner peace. 5. Protect your energy from negative influences. In Buddhism, there is a strong emphasis on right effort, the conscious choice to cultivate positive habits and eliminate negative ones. Protecting your energy requires you to be mindful of the people, environments, and situations that drain you. This might mean saying no to certain invitations, limiting your time in toxic environments, or taking a break from social media. Learn to recognize when your energy is being drained. If you find yourself feeling depleted after certain interactions or activities, it's a sign that your energy ecosystem needs protection. Trust yourself and give yourself permission to step away from people or situations that harm your mental or emotional state. Self-care isn't selfish, it's a necessary practice for maintaining balance and well-being. 6. Cultivate a daily gratitude practice. One of the most effective ways to shift your energy is through the practice of gratitude. Gratitude helps to reframe your mindset, moving your focus from what is lacking to what is abundant. In Buddhism, gratitude is seen as a key to unlocking peace and happiness. By focusing on the positive aspects of your life, whether it's the kindness of a friend, the beauty of nature, or the simple joys of daily life, you begin to transform your energy from one of lack to one of abundance. Consider keeping a gratitude journal where you write down 3 things you're thankful for each day. This practice not only helps you stay focused on the positive aspects of your life but also creates a ripple effect that enhances your overall energy ecosystem. When you're focused on gratitude, you naturally attract more of what you appreciate. As you begin to cultivate your energy ecosystem, you'll notice a significant shift in your overall well-being. By intentionally surrounding yourself with positive influences, nurturing healthy relationships, and protecting your energy from negative forces, you create a balanced environment where peace, clarity, and vitality can flourish. The energy you cultivate within your ecosystem doesn't just impact you, it ripples outward, affecting those around you. As your energy shifts toward positivity, others will feel that change, and it will create a supportive, uplifting environment for everyone. This ripple effect can bring greater harmony, connection, and happiness into your life. Cultivating your energy ecosystem is not a one-time effort but a lifelong practice. By being mindful of what you allow into your mental, emotional, and physical spaces, you create a sanctuary for your mind and spirit. You become the guardian of your energy, ensuring that it's used wisely and nurtured carefully. Just as you would protect your physical health through good nutrition and exercise, you must also protect your mental and emotional health by creating an environment that supports your well-being. With consistent practice, you can cultivate an energy ecosystem that fosters balance, peace, and joy in all areas of your life. Lesson 7. Practice radical acceptance. In a world full of constant change and uncertainty, it can be easy to fall into the trap of resistance. We resist situations, people, and emotions that don't align with our expectations or desires. We often feel frustrated when things don't go the way we want, and this frustration leads to suffering. But what if I told you that true peace and freedom come from embracing life exactly as it is, without resistance, judgment, or the need to control every aspect of it? This is the essence of radical acceptance, a powerful practice that allows us to let go of the struggle and find peace in the present moment, no matter the circumstances. In Buddhism, one of the core teachings is the law of impermanence, the understanding that everything in life is constantly changing. The Buddha taught that nothing, whether it's our emotions, our relationships, or our material possessions, lasts forever. This realization can be both liberating and difficult. On one hand, it means that our suffering is also impermanent, and on the other hand, it means that the things we hold dear will eventually change or fade away. Radical acceptance arises from the deep understanding of impermanence. When we truly accept that nothing in life is fixed, we stop resisting change and start embracing it. Radical acceptance allows us to let go of attachment to outcomes, to expectations, and to the need to control the uncontrollable. It invites us to accept life's natural ebb and flow with grace and peace, rather than fighting against it. Radical acceptance is the practice of fully accepting reality as it is, without trying to change it or judge it. It's about acknowledging the present moment, including all of its challenges, without resistance or denial. This doesn't mean passively accepting everything that happens to us or giving up on improving our lives. It means that, in the face of adversity, we stop fighting against the reality of the situation and instead focus on how we can respond in a way that is aligned with our values and well-being. At its core, radical acceptance is about surrendering the need to control everything. It's about letting go of the internal struggle that arises when things don't go according to plan. By embracing the present moment with all of its imperfections, we free ourselves from the suffering that comes from attachment, frustration, and the desire for things to be different. In Buddhism, the concept of non-attachment plays a key role in radical acceptance. Non-attachment doesn't mean detachment or indifference, it means not clinging to things, outcomes, or expectations. When we are attached to a particular outcome, we create suffering for ourselves because we are not allowing life to unfold as it is meant to. We become frustrated, anxious, or angry when things don't go as we wish, and this emotional turmoil drains our energy and peace of mind. Radical acceptance teaches us to embrace the moment as it is, without attachment to how we think it should be. It encourages us to let go of the need for perfection and to find contentment in the present. By practicing non-attachment, we can navigate life's challenges with more resilience, compassion, and ease. How to practice radical acceptance? While radical acceptance may seem like an abstract concept, it's actually a deeply practical practice that can transform how we experience our lives. Here are several key steps to help you embrace radical acceptance and begin to live with greater peace and freedom. 1. Acknowledge reality as it is. The first step in practicing radical acceptance is to fully acknowledge the situation you're facing. Whether it's a difficult emotion, a challenging relationship, or a setback in your personal or professional life, it's essential to face it head-on without denial or avoidance. This doesn't mean you have to like the situation or agree with it, but simply that you recognize it as part of your current reality. In Buddhism, the practice of mindfulness helps us cultivate this awareness. When difficult emotions arise, mindfulness encourages us to observe them without judgment, allowing them to simply be what they are. For example, if you're feeling angry or sad, instead of pushing those emotions away, acknowledge them. Ask yourself, what is happening right now? How do I feel in this moment? What is the reality of this situation? The more you practice accepting reality as it is, the more you'll be able to find peace in even the most difficult circumstances. 2. Let go of the need to control. One of the most challenging aspects of radical acceptance is letting go of our desire to control the outcome of situations. We often resist things because we believe we can change them or because we fear the consequences of not getting our way. However, the truth is that many things in life are beyond our control. We cannot control other people's actions, the weather, or the course of events that unfold around us. Radical acceptance invites us to release the need to control and to surrender to the flow of life. This doesn't mean we give up on our goals or aspirations, rather, it means that we stop resisting the natural course of events and instead focus on how we can respond with wisdom, compassion, and calm. When we let go of the need for control, we open ourselves to new possibilities and a greater sense of peace. 3. Embrace pain and suffering as part of the human experience. It's important to recognize that radical acceptance doesn't mean avoiding pain or suffering. In fact, Buddhism teaches that suffering is a natural part of life. The Buddha spoke about the inevitability of dukkha, suffering, and how it arises from attachment and desire. Rather than trying to avoid or deny suffering, radical acceptance teaches us to embrace it with openness and understanding. When you face difficult emotions like grief, fear, or frustration, practice acknowledging them without judgment. Instead of pushing these feelings away, welcome them as part of your human experience. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this pain? How can I grow through this experience? By accepting pain as part of life, we open ourselves to healing and transformation. 4. Practice compassion toward yourself. Radical acceptance also involves practicing compassion for yourself. It's easy to be hard on ourselves when things don't go the way we want. We often criticize ourselves for not being good enough or for not handling challenges better. However, the practice of radical acceptance teaches us to treat ourselves with the same kindness and understanding that we would offer to a friend in need. When you find yourself struggling with a difficult situation, take a moment to pause and offer yourself compassion. Instead of berating yourself for feeling upset, acknowledge that it's okay to feel the way you do. Remind yourself that you are doing the best you can and that it's okay to be imperfect. Self-compassion is an essential part of radical acceptance, as it allows you to embrace your flaws and vulnerabilities without judgment. 5. Shift your focus to what you can control. While radical acceptance encourages us to let go of control, it also invites us to focus on what we can control, our thoughts, actions, and responses. Even in the most challenging situations, we always have the power to choose how we respond. By practicing radical acceptance, you shift your focus from what is beyond your control to what you can influence. For example, if you're dealing with a difficult relationship, radical acceptance helps you accept that you can't control the other person's behavior. However, you can control how you respond to them. You can choose to act with patience, kindness, and understanding, or you can set healthy boundaries to protect your emotional well-being. By focusing on what you can control, you regain a sense of agency and empowerment. Practicing radical acceptance has a profound impact on our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. When we let go of resistance and embrace life as it is, we experience reduced stress and anxiety. By accepting reality, we free ourselves from the constant worry and frustration that arise from resisting life's challenges. Greater emotional resilience. Radical acceptance helps us navigate difficult emotions with greater ease and calm, allowing us to bounce back more quickly from setbacks. Deeper inner peace. When we stop fighting against life's ups and downs, we experience a greater sense of peace and contentment in the present moment. Improved relationships. By accepting ourselves and others as they are, we foster more compassionate, understanding, and harmonious relationships. Radical acceptance is not a passive practice, it's a powerful tool for living a more peaceful, joyful, and fulfilled life. It invites us to embrace the present moment, let go of the need to control, and find peace in the face of adversity. By practicing radical acceptance, we free ourselves from the burden of resistance and open ourselves to the wisdom and freedom that comes from accepting life exactly as it is. Remember, as the Buddha taught, the path is the goal. Radical acceptance isn't about changing the world or forcing things to go according to our desires, it's about accepting the world as it is, and in doing so, finding peace within ourselves. Every moment is an opportunity to practice radical acceptance and to create a life filled with clarity, calm, and compassion.